What's good, everybody? Hope you are having a wonderful week so far. Podcast time, the one and only Odd Mob. Odd Mob has been having a moment in the last year or so. He's recently just remixed Sean Paul Get Busy, which has just come out and is blowing up. He's had some massive records over the years, been doing it since 2013 from Australia. I love this conversation. Just spoke about everything general music. Spoke about his collaborations with Omnom under Hyperbeam. Spoke about his touring in America, living in Australia, how to kind of grow real fans and kind of keep fans in this industry. Just generally touring, mental health. It was a great conversation. So without further ado, Odd Mob. Getting that Red Bull in, I see, mate.
Yeah.
Classic Ibiza breakfast.
Yeah, that's right. I've already crushed a juice and a double espresso, and now I've moved up to the Red Bulls. So coming back to life.
Hey, what more do you need in life, eh?
Hey, that's right. Caffeine and maybe a bit of alcohol here and there, and I'm good.
Sound like a true Australian. That's all it sounds like, if I'm honest.
Yeah, pretty much.
Mr. Oddmob, Harry, how are you, man?
I'm great. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. My studio looks an absolute mess right now, and it's like really frustrating me because it's been like a uproar in this room recently. So like also behind the camera that like no one can see it is literally like the biggest shit show ever. But apart from that, we're good.
Hey, look, that means you're a true creative. Yeah,
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that at all.
I get a bit freaked out when I visit people's like own studios and it's like just perfectly tidy. Sometimes it just throws me off a bit. It just feels unnatural to me because my studio is also like a certified mess, especially the cables. My cable management does not exist.
I was talking to Carl Watson the other day. He like has like, I have pretty bad OCD, but I just don't think cables can ever be like clean. I don't understand it. And he was like having severe anxiety when I posted a picture or something. And I was like, dude, come and fix them for me. At least like help a brother out.
Yeah, that would be so good. If anybody wants to come to my house and like fix up my cables, like please do.
Oh man, are you based in like where are you based nowadays? Like living in Australia must suck in that sense of like touring America and the rest of the world, like and then living in Australia.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I live in Brisbane. I've lived there my whole life.
Yeah.
I love it there. I love everything about it. But it does make life a little bit difficult going back and forth to the States or at the moment going to Europe for the first time. Like it's a long way away, but I think I'm just so used to flying now, like for long distances, that it honestly doesn't faze me at all. Like if I have to fly to America 14 hours or whatever for one show, like I'll do it. It's easy. I feel like I just go to sleep and then I'm there.
It's funny that, right? How we all not all of us, because I know a lot of people, and I'm sure you do as well, that just like really struggle with the travel. But I think if you're willing to accept the travel and kind of just accept that that is the job part of this job, then you're fucking good.
Exactly. I mean, also like I feel like it gives me a good bit of perspective. Like
Yeah.
after sitting on a plane for so long, just going out and like socializing or going to events just makes it so much more exciting.
Yeah. Does do you try and plan your touring to kind of be a bit easier on your life, as in
Um,
travel wise, or is it literally like things have like popped off over the last like couple years for you from me knowing who you are, or is it still at that moment where it's like all scramble and just like taking things as you go, or is it a little bit more planning behind it?
I mean, we try to do my agent and I try to do the most amount of planning that we can, but honestly, like, I guess when things are going really good, got to just like do your best to try and fit as much in as you can because,
Yeah.
in a year or 2 years, like people might just be completely turned off of my music. So, I gotta put some money away while I can.
I want to talk about that though, because I think there's levels of staying consistent and there's levels of like building true fans. so that there's longevity in this industry for you. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you've had some serious success over, like, I from my research, and I barely do any research, so this is like my extent of research is literally going to Spotify and scrolling to the very bottom. Your first release was 2013,
Yes.
The
Yeah.
Tribe.
The Tribe. Yes.
Yeah, absolute banger, mate.
Oh, thank you. I think I peaked too early with that song.
It was a good one, right? Re-release it. So 11 years
Yeah,
releasing records.
it's been a while. Like now that you say that, it makes me feel really old. But
You're not.
the
You're a
the
good man.
time is
You
the
get it.
time is the time has flown by.
Yeah, but I think it's really interesting to see like your kind of progression into where your sound as well. How kind of your sound has changed, and also how your sound hasn't changed. Like, I was listening to some of the older stuff, and I can still hear Odd Mob sound that's like still kind of today to a certain extent. And I'm not saying that you've stayed still as an artist, but it just truly means that you have a bit of a sound as an artist. But I guess, like, for me, how do you kind of keep growing and keep building fans so that there's a longevity in the future? Because I think we all have a moment, right? We all have a moment where we pop off, we have a big record, or we have multiple big records, potentially have a hit. Like, I don't know if you feel like you've had a hit. I know I haven't had a hit at this moment in time. I've had big records, but I wouldn't say I've had a hit record. Um, but like, we can't rely on a hit record. So what's your kind of like protocols of building fan base and kind of keeping consistent?
Mm, I think just being like you probably hear this all the time, but just being genuine, like just trying to make music that excites you and like being your true self on social media and whatnot. I think like you can't really go wrong because like if you're not forcing anything, then the fans that just come organically they're real fans, I guess. Like you don't have to try and pander to them, so to speak, because they like you for you, I
Yeah.
guess. So um yeah. I mean at the moment like I'm just doing whatever, like just doing what feels right and not really trying to grasp it being like having viral moments or anything like that and just building as slow as possible, I suppose.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
that's the thing is when you're trying, if you're building it slowly, I think it kind of a foundation really builds.
Mm.
That's what I've seen is like people that kind of shoot to the top from day one find it really hard to kind of keep at the top, in a sense of mentally, and just like this industry doesn't allow you to always be at the top. There's always somebody chomping at your heels to kind of overtake and things like that.
Yeah. I mean, like some people that follow me to this day have been following me since like for the past maybe 6 or 7 years, and
Mm,
they'll still like comment on my posts and stuff here and there, and like it all just like feeds into this kind of solid engagement that seem to get from these people who like just always support me no matter what.
mm.
And yeah, they've been around for a while, so it feels good to have like a kind of like solid foundation, I guess. Like if maybe any of these more recent fans decide to like kind of clock out, I feel like I'll still have those people who have always gotten around me.
No, I think it's really important to have as an artist or as anyone creating music or releasing something. Have you ever heard of that Kevin Kelly, A Thousand True Fans?
No, is that like a book or?
Yeah, so it's like a small essay. It's actually really interesting. I'll send you it after. It's like probably like 5 or 6 paragraphs, but it's a really interesting concept of, if you could have hundreds of thousands of followers, but realistically, if you have 1,000 true fans that either buy your merch every time you release something, or subscribe to something that you do, if you have like a Patreon or OnlyFans or anything like that, like
Yeah.
that constantly, and I think it's like works out to be like 1,000 true fans at like $100 a month or something like that, then pretty much you have a career for the rest of your life. And it's like, it's a really interesting concept because I think there's so many artists that kind of have that expectation that fans will always be around, yet don't invest into the fans. And kind of, how do you grow a fan base when you're not hot? And I think that's it.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I've just always stuck to like just trying to do like honestly just release as much music as I can and just try to give people stuff to listen to, and like chatting to people on Instagram, for instance. Like if I post something and somebody replies, I usually do my best to try and like talk to them, or at least like build some sort of like small friendship, like meeting people at shows and chatting. Like last night, I rocked up to Ushuaia by myself. So the artist liaison was a bit confused. She's like, "Do you have any guesses?" I'm like, "No, I have literally no friends." And yeah, just after my set, these three guys from Cardiff were like nice enough to come and say hi and like say like that they really enjoyed the show and blah blah blah. And I was like, "Sweet, well, you guys seem really cool. Let's like hang out." So I brought them all like backstage, and then we were all just having a few drinks, and then we went out into the crowd and just watched Swedish House Mafia together, like as if we'd been friends for the past like 10 years, and we just had the best time. So yeah, and it turns out like a couple of them have been following me for like a really long time. So yeah, I don't know, just trying to be nice to people, I guess, works too.
It's
Like
pretty simple, right?
it's really not that complicated. And I think
Yeah.
like not to like name drop, but I think that's personally, I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people got around John Summit, is because he was like really involved in going to like after parties and meeting people and just like being friendly, and he's just like into that life kind of thing, and just
I think it's also like your demographic, right? If your demographic is like a bunch of people coming to rave and party all weekend, like, and you're willing to do that as well, like, game
yeah
on.
yeah, people, I think people really like it when they can tell that you're kind of in it, you're in all of it, if that makes any sense. Or like you've at least, maybe if you're a bit of an older artist, like you've experienced all of that and you've been a part of the actual scene, so to speak. Yeah, anyway,
Yeah,
I'm
well, I
rambling.
think no, I totally agree, because I think like you look at the likes of like Eats Everything, Seth Troxler, that Scream, like that whole crew when they kind of came up. Maybe not Scream came up a lot before all of those guys, but like there was a moment in the early 2000s where they were all just like throwing parties and kind of always the after party crew, and look kind of how long their careers have been, and they're still kind of grandfathered into the industry where, yeah, you're not necessarily the biggest artist in the world all the time, but you have your moment and you have that longevity of like always being booked on every single lineup. And I think it's really important for artists to kind of understand that like you might not always have the spotlight, but if you can grow a good enough fan base that you can sell a certain amount of tickets in every market, or in all the markets that you get booked at regularly, then it's invaluable, really.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, also just like being thankful for every like moment that you can have. Like I was thankful when I was playing like to 200 people, and like now I'm even more like still just as thankful really for playing to like 1,000 or 2,000 people, or playing at festivals and stuff. So like I feel like if you're, I mean, you would know you're in it for the right reasons. You love this stuff. Like
Yeah.
if you really love it, then I feel like you can't really go wrong. If like once you're out of the spotlight, you're still, if you still have that like core fan base, and you can still like just enjoy playing to however many people, like yeah, it's the best.
How do you do that though? How do you cope with that? Because I think there's sometimes, and I can put my hand up and like fully admit to it, that like you go play a show and you're just like, this is just shit, if you know what I mean. Like, although like yes, I'm very grateful to be playing there, and I'm very like fortunate to be playing, even if it's 50 people or even if it's 10 people. There's still some times as artists where we're just like, or as human beings, where we're just like, you know what, this is shit. Like, how do you kind of get through that? Because I think it's so real. I don't believe that every artist or every person goes into a situation and goes, yeah, I'm so grateful for this. Like, and if you do, then I want to know how.
I mean, honestly, ever since I like cut down on drinking a lot, like being kind of more present with my own thoughts and being able to rationalize things and look at people individually and just see if they're having a good time. Like,
Mm.
also the fact like coming up as an artist in Australia, where like basically most shows are like that. I think you do, like
I'm
you,
so glad you said that.
yeah. I think you really build like a tolerance for like small crowds, if that makes any sense. Like
Yeah.
maybe that's why we have so many like good artists from Australia, because we have to like run the gauntlet, and then we get to go somewhere where there's just like 100 times more people who live there, and it's just
Yeah.
ridiculous. But
Well, but I think there's also a situation where like you can still be in front of 10,000 people and have a shit show.
I mean, I of course, yeah. I mean, I think like I've definitely had moments where I've played. There was one instance I played a festival in Tasmania, and I remember like just for some reason I was being so hard on myself the entire
Mm.
set. Like I, I don't know if I was just like feeling a bit disconnected from the crowd. Like people were, the footage like came out great. Like everyone was having a great time, but I just felt like I was doing a bad job, and I have no idea why. Like in
Yeah.
hindsight, I just felt like something was missing. But yeah, you're so right. Like it doesn't matter how many people you're playing to, you can feel like you can still have those doubts, I guess. But
I think that's the hardest thing is when like from the outside it looks amazing
mm,
and I think like everybody else is actually having the best time, but deep down inside like when we're like in the moment it's like terrible. And like we're having the worst time ever. And I think it's so real to talk about because it's like I never forget I was playing a show in San Diego. This is a while ago, and it was like literally in front of like 7,000 people, and like even my manager, like everyone was loving it. My manager, but then I came off, and my manager turned around and was like, "You hated that, didn't you?" And I was like, "Yeah, I just couldn't get into it." And I think it's normal to do that, but like, what's your process of like after that when you can't get into it? Is it something that you dwell on for time after, or is it something that you can just like forget about and move on?
okay, so anybody who knows me personally will know that I am way too sensitive to be a touring artist, because anytime something even slightly bad happens, I take it fully to heart. Like I think I was on TikTok the other day, and somebody was like, there was like a video about me, and then one of the like all these nice comments, like probably like 100 nice comments, and then this one person was like, "Odd Mob makes the best music, but I saw him live, and he was the worst DJ ever." And I was just like, I was just floored for the rest of the day, and I was like, I was trying to figure out like I was trying to like stalk their profile to figure out what show it might have been, like what I did wrong, like what's going wrong in my life. Um, so I'm not actually that good at shaking it off. Usually I'll have to sit
Mm,
there and contemplate like, uh, you know, why did this feel, why did this feel off for me? You know, how can I fix it for next time? I really have to like work through the whole thing. And it takes me at least usually takes me at least a couple of hours, to be honest. Like,
that's
yeah.
a quick turnaround. That's a quick turnaround.
I mean, sometimes it's days, but usually it's about a couple hours. I'll have to just like go back to the hotel and be like, all right, like everyone was obviously having a good time. Like, why did I feel like I was disconnected? Is it because I was tired, or is it because like maybe I like didn't give myself enough time at the venue beforehand to kind of like, get into the mood kind of
Yeah,
thing. So yeah, I think I think just yeah, drinking less and being able to like fully process things as an adult helps a lot for
totally,
me. So,
totally. When did you decide to stop drinking and why,
I haven't stopped drinking. I just drink
or
a
chill
lot.
out on it?
Yeah, I just drink a lot less. I think it was last year. Yeah,
Mm,
last year, around EDC weekend, my friend from Melbourne came with me to EDC, and after EDC, I went to San Diego, played at Bloom, I think it
yep.
was. super sick club. It was like rammed. I had the best time, but there were like all these college dudes there, and the guy gave me a bottle of tequila, and it was just like the best tequila I'd ever tasted in my whole life. Like, normally I'm like wincing with shots, but this stuff, like, I was just like, this has to be watered down or something. Like, it's way too easy to drink. So I was just like having all these shots with these college dudes, and then I like played the set. Everything was fine, and then like as I was leaving the venue, it all just hit me at once, and like I just remember I just embarrassed myself, and my friend was the worst part was that my friend was there to witness the whole thing. Like we tried to like get an Uber back, and I had to like basically like jump out the door to go and throw up. And I think it was the shame, the shame of having somebody that I actually know, like, not to say I'm like some sort of demon who does this all the time. It was kind of like a one-off situation, but I think that really shook me. Like, it shook me to my core. Like, having my friend like calling my wife, being like, "He is not okay. Like, what do I do? I've never seen him like this." Yeah. So
that's amazing.
But once I started playing a few more like sober shows, it like the first few were kind of not rough, but like normally I'd have like one drink to kind of loosen up. But after I did a few in a row, I was like, holy crap, this is actually so much better, because like if something's going wrong, I don't just fixate on it during the set. I can just be like, all right, like that person who's like holding up a request thing, like I'm really not bothered by you. Whereas before, like something about having a couple of drinks, I'm like, oh, like I really should try and like I might
get that in.
Yeah. So
yeah,
it's helped me a lot, and like I have been drinking a little bit here and there now, but I think just my mindset towards everything is just so much better. So from having that abstinence period.
No, it makes complete sense. I don't drink and haven't for a long time, but I couldn't even imagine what it would be like to DJ drunk right now. Like, God, I think I've only ever played like twice when I've been drinking, and like it was the worst experience ever. But yeah, I don't know. I think alcohol's an amazing thing though. At the same time, right? There's a level of like confidence booster that it helps. I think it's just moderation.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like in Australia, like it's very much like pushed upon you from a young age to be really loose.
Yeah.
So I did that for a fair few years, if I'm being honest. Like just not like getting hammered, but just like drinking at every show just because I felt obliged. And then
Yeah.
I guess I'm a bit older now, so I'm a bit older, a bit wiser, a little bit more confident in
How
myself.
old are you? You're making yourself out to be this like fucking 50-year-old man.
No, I'm 30, all right, which is like it's basically ancient in raver terms. Let's be real.
True.
You know?
When did you notice that like you get older, but the club goers stay the same age?
Oh man, that's why I love playing in America usually, because it's 21 plus. So usually you look out and like, oh, they're like mid-20s, whereas like playing in Australia, sometimes when there's somebody who's like probably like 17 years old who's in there with the fake ID, you're like, holy fuck, like you're like I feel ancient. But anyway,
it's definitely weird. What's your thoughts on the whole 18 up or 21 plus?
Oh, man, I think it literally depends on the city and the like drinking culture in that specific city. Because sometimes 18 plus, they like don't really know how to handle themselves, if that makes any sense, and they're just like gets a little bit too like, I don't know. It just feels a little bit less refined, whereas 21 plus is more like kind of like just groovers, I guess. But it probably depends on like the genre in the city, if I'm being perfectly honest. But I played to lots of 18 plus crowds that have been amazing. So
I'm kind of all for the 18 up. I think from like, could you like, for me, imagining like we were raving a lot younger than 18, but that's because like fake IDs were like a lot more easily or you could fake IDs a lot more easier than what you can now. But I think like, I feel like there's a massive disconnect from 17 to 21 in America of like electronic music, and I think it
Mm.
kind of just doesn't ruin the scene, but it kind of stunts the scene, and it kind of stunts growth in what it's about. And I think like you kind of come from, you look at like Spain, Germany, Italy, UK, Australia to a certain extent, where you have like 18 and up kids can kind of really get into music and find what they're into at a younger age, rather than finding that on TikTok or finding that on Spotify or Apple Music or something like that. I think there's a level of culture that it kind of stunts massively.
I mean, yeah, I can agree to that. Like, yeah, far out. I mean, if I didn't get to experience a lot of stuff when I was so young, I don't know if I actually ever would have like necessarily moved the way that I did, like become
Yeah.
so passionate about it. Because like, I guess when you're 18, it's a very formative time. Like you're just starting school, university or something perhaps, or like kind of moving into your adult life. I can't imagine what it would be like to, yeah, not have
Yeah.
that whole experience of like going out with your friends and like, I mean, obviously there are 18 plus events in America, but obviously not as widespread.
Few,
But
few and
yeah,
far.
it was just like it's just the best experience, like when you're finally kind of becoming an adult and to do those things together and like kind of find out who you are, and also
Yeah.
just to see people in that space, because
Mm-hmm.
I feel like in like normal kind of society you don't really get that whole kind of like, this is probably the worst word for it, but like that kind of like tribal kind of feeling you get when you go to a music event and like everyone's just like letting go of their inhibitions kind of thing, and just like being so involved in the music, like
I totally agree. I think
ah
it's so amazing what the community can do. I think like even to a certain extent where like you see somebody with a t-shirt of an artist or a t-shirt of a record label or something, and like that drums up conversation, and then that turns into a friendship, and then you kind of meet their crew and they meet your crew. And I think it's like it's so important as like growth in our community to like allow that at such a young age. And I just think I wish America, because I think there's like a snobbery in America when it comes to 18 and up events, and I think there's like a level of like people over 21 don't like going to 18 and up events, but I'm like, you guys can literally help these kids that are like come into raves, and you can kind of teach them the ways and kind of bring them under your wings and kind of take them to like artists that they've never heard of and like really like nurture it. I
yeah,
just
that's
I
right.
kind of just wish that culture was in America, because realistically, I do think the like electronic music culture in America is probably the best in the world at this moment in time. I just wish it could be kind of brought to younger people.
Yeah, I mean, they every single like 18 plus kind of raver that I've met over there, they're just like so appreciative, and like
Yeah,
they just absolutely love it. They have that complete like zest for the music, I suppose, because it's like,
yeah,
yeah, like Omnom and I did a little like pop up event thing uh, in LA like not long ago, and
mm,
it's like a no drinking event, so it was open to 18 plus, and just some of these like younger kids that came along, they were just so happy to be like,
yeah,
words cannot describe how happy they were. Like it's just some random like pop up thing midweek. Like it's not. It's kind of like par for the course, but for them it was like the most amazing thing that they had ever experienced. And like, yeah, I don't know. I can't even imagine what it would be like for me, because I used to be a proper introvert, like a nerd who was just not good in social situations. So the guy I used to
mm,
DJ with in Odd Mob, he was kind of more extroverted. And I feel like if I didn't have the like rave culture to really bring me out of my shell, like meeting all of these people, I think I would still be that like
same
introverted,
person.
self-conscious guy that I used to be. So
Mm.
yeah. Anyway,
How did you get through that though? Like how does one learn to not be as much of an introvert?
well, I think honestly, when I was just going out and you're meeting people who are drinking, and they're just
Yeah.
like so much friendlier than people in day-to-day life.
Yeah.
And then just learning that when people are a little bit more like uh, either when they're in that kind of situation, they're just more open to you just talking to them and
Mm,
being able to experience like just chatting shit to people in like the smokers area really like brought me out of my shell a little bit.
love that.
Yeah.
Right, let's talk about Get Busy.
Oh, okay.
I'm interested in this. How the fuck did this come about? So for
um,
anybody listening, this is Get Busy, Sean Paul, Odd Mob Club remix.
well, so basically, I just had a bootleg of it that I had on SoundCloud for a bit called Bet
Yeah.
Gizzy, and my manager's one of those guys who he just when he gets a feeling about a record, he just like won't let it go. So he was basically like when he heard the bootleg, he's like, "Mate, I think this is actually your best. Like, this could be one of your biggest songs ever if we can like clear the sample or get a remix or whatever." And he like tried all the usual people, so he hits up like the rights holders, the labels and stuff like that, and the answer was just no. Like they're just not really going to entertain the idea because I don't think Sean Paul's ever really had many remixes. I don't think anybody's actually remixed any of his stuff, like from an electronic
Yeah.
standpoint of view. But he uh, he had this idea to message the guys who run Big Beat because Big Beat's owned
Yeah.
by Atlantic, I think, who had the rights to Get Busy or whatever. And Gina from Big Beat like fully got around it. She was so hyped on it, and she basically like really advocated for us to get like this remix to happen. And I think they sent it to him. Sean Paul was like really into it. He was actually kind of frothing it to be honest, but I think it was a little bit of like hesitation from him and his team. Like, is this really something that we want to like move into?
Mm.
And then he was telling me, yeah, he was playing the remix at home, and his son was just frothing it, and he kept going like, I'm not going to try to do Sean Paul's accent, but when he explained it to me, he was like, my son was like, oh, play Get Busy, and then he puts on Get Busy the original. He goes, nah, play the remix. So I hope that pushed it across the line. I mean, by the sounds of it, he was already fully on board, but I think I think the son really like was the nail in the coffin, like that made it all happen. So
If in doubt, get the kids on board.
yeah, it turns out. I mean, a lot of my music is actually a hit with the kids. Like,
Yeah.
and maybe it's because it's so basic. I don't know. Like, it's not that complicated. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so that was really crazy that all happened, and the streams and stuff. Like, I've never really done anything on such a major level. Like Sean Paul is
Yeah.
obviously a huge, like, iconic artist who has millions of fans and all this kind of stuff. Like just being in like just having a sniff of that for like the release week and everything like that was just unbelievable. Like
I was
it
gonna
just,
say, how was that?
oh, just like seeing a track get 1 million streams in a week is like bananas to me. Like just I yeah.
It's mental.
Yeah, it was really cool. I'm super thankful that it all happened. So, um,
No, are you best friends with Sean Paul now?
uh, sadly not. I don't have his digits or anything, but hopefully, like maybe in the future, our paths will cross again, or maybe I'll become like a super prolific DJ slash producer, and we can link up on a bit of original music.
Get him on an OG.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
get
should,
it.
man.
Let's get it going full circle. You know,
You should.
maybe in like 20 years from now, when I finally have this stuff like locked in.
I'm sure you pretty got it locked in now, man. You're good. You're good.
I've got a
Just
long way to go. I've got a long way to go. I've got my sights set on in the distant future. Like when I'm finally going to be good at this stuff, I'm going to know everything.
okay. So what does when you know everything? What does the future look like?
It probably looks like me knowing too much. And no, I really hope that I can get to the point where I can like have a music studio in my backyard, and I can just be that
Yeah.
weird old neighbor who just like tinkers around, and then will you'll like meet him at the pub or something, and he'll be like, "Oh yeah, by the way, like I worked on this record that has 1 billion streams or something
Yeah.
something like that." That would be really cool.
That's the dream, right?
Yeah, I just wanna have a studio in the backyard, and I wanna have as many dogs as I can financially support.
I'm pretty sure with a billion streams, you can support a few dogs.
You reckon?
Definitely.
Okay,
Yeah, I
okay.
reckon so. Well, we know streaming pay is bad, but fuck it, like 1 billion streams. I was with one of my mates. I was talking to one of my mates the other day. He's an insane keys player. I work with him quite a lot. But he does some stuff for like Simon Cowell and like the old X Factor shows. He like
Yeah,
used to play all the keys on that, and he was doing one of Simon Cowell's new shows recently, and he was telling me like he was like in a room with some these like crazy songwriters, and it's like amazing how I've never heard of like half of them, and then you go and look at their catalog, and it's like every record they do is like 1 billion, 2 billion, 3 billion, and I've literally never heard of them.
yeah, it's crazy. Like I had not on that level, but I had a kind of similar experience last week. I got in the studio with Good Boys,
Yeah, they're
and
great.
they are just like the nicest dudes. Also, like just completely out of their mind, like so good at just coming
Yeah,
up with top lines and stuff like that. And dude,
Josh is mental.
they were just listing off all this stuff that they worked on, and I was like, okay, so like I knew like your personal catalog was like really big, but like
Yeah,
on top of that, you're just like working with all these different artists, like just writing just countless gigabangers, and I'm like, holy, I haven't
yeah.
even had one gigabanger, and you've got like a hundred, like yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
mad what they've done, and also in such a short time, like genuinely. But I
yeah,
guess that's like I'm mates with them as well, and we I had them on the podcast, and that is the joys of having a hit record as your first release. Is that you literally every room just like opens up,
yeah,
like everybody and anybody wants to work within you, and you can kind of just say yes or no. But it's fucking amazing what they've done. Like genuinely, I don't think there's many people that have done what they've done in such a short amount of time in the dance music world.
oh yeah. So that really like inspired me, and like the more of these types of people I meet, the more I kind of aspire to be like that, just to have those skills and being able to like just write like good, just classically like good music, which
Yeah,
I'm sure is a bit of a learning process. So that's why
I
I'm
think the
guessing
thing
like
is,
another 10 years at least before I'm at that point.
is like you don't necessarily have to be classically trained, right?
Mm.
Like I think you can just genuinely be good at what you want to be good at. And I think if you can master what you're really good at and be really good at it, where you can go into any room and confidently go, yeah, I feel confident in this room. Because I think there's a level of like, for me, like I've been fortunate enough to be in quite a lot of rooms writing in this, especially when in those early days, you're like, what am I even doing in here? Like why do they even want me in here?
Yeah,
I'm not adding any value. And I think it's just a case of just being in the rooms and just like, just working.
yeah,
It takes time.
yeah. It's definitely doing sessions is like been a big learning curve for me, because I've not really done many of them at all, and the
Yeah.
first couple I was just like, yeah, like you said, just no confidence at all. Like these people who are like seasoned veterans, they just like work so fast. They're like the
Yeah.
way that they can communicate as well is very like the ones who are really good at it. They can like tell you what they want without it coming across as like my idea is better than yours kind of thing. It's just like this is what
Yeah.
I was thinking. Can you just like try this? Blah 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 blah. And they're efficient with it, and like you'll be chatting, maybe you'll just be like getting to know each other, but then they're also still like cooking up ideas while they're talking to you. Like, yeah, I want to get
It's
good
tough.
at that.
Practice, man.
Yeah.
Practice. How do you do sessions when you're based in Australia?
I mean, that's why I haven't really done many, I guess. A lot of
Yeah,
the ones that I've done have just been while I'm abroad and the timing works out.
yeah,
Um, yeah, Brisbane we're actually really lucky because local producers, one of them who's like this amazing writer, he worked on Dance Monkey with Tones and I. I
yeah,
think he did like the backing
yeah,
track.
yeah,
But him and all these other guys like got together and they actually built like the first set of studios kind of catered towards producers and that kind of side of things. So that's really like opened up a lot of opportunities for myself and a lot of other Brisbane artists to actually, like, if somebody we know is in Brisbane, we can be like, hey, I actually know a place that we can go and work together,
yeah,
as opposed to like, come to my house in the middle of nowhere. I like it's not as professional, you know.
yeah. I
So
get that. That's cool though.
yeah,
So I guess when you're traveling, are you planning on doing? Do you like plan sessions in or anything like that?
honestly, no, because I'm already struggling enough to just organize my own life. What I usually do is whenever I get anywhere, I'll just go on Twitter or Instagram and be like, hey, if there's anyone around who has some free time, let's just work on something.
Write some
So
beats.
yeah, write some beats, just hang out, and all of those types of sessions have always been great because they're kind of like laid back. It's both parties are like fully into the concept that nothing has
Yeah.
to come about it because it's just a last minute casual thing.
Mm.
But I'd love to do more. Like I'd love to get to the point where my manager and all that can be like, hey, you're playing here. I know that these writers are there, and you should like jump in the
Yeah.
studio with them. That'd be so sick.
I think it takes time to kind of get to that point where like it's that second thought of like, okay, touring here, get in the studio here. You've got, yeah, let's spend an extra day here, but you're writing a record. Whether that record comes to be an Odd Mob record or whether that comes to be somebody else's record, it's just a good practice to get going.
Mm.
Do you write on the road?
Yeah, I mix master everything on the road,
Mm,
which is it's good. Like I'm lucky enough that I've done it for so long that I think I'm getting pretty good at it.
yeah.
Uh, but yeah, definitely there's just something magical about being in a nice space with other people you can bounce ideas off. Like I think I really thrive off that kind of energy, which yeah, you don't always get that when you're just tinkering in your hotel room, but
No.
yeah.
I think there's a level of like also for God knows how many years we've just spent. I don't. It is for me anyway. God knows how many years just spent in the studio by yourself,
Mm.
writing records, kind of like finding samples, maybe writing a few top lines yourself, like singing into a mic and making it sound like it's not you,
Yep.
and then like mixing. I don't master my stuff, but like sending it to a masterer, they master it. The whole process is very like insular and very isolating.
Mm.
I think when you've been doing it for so long, for me, is like, or when I've been doing it for so long, I'm sure it's similar for you. Is like just getting in a room with some like-minded people that you can just actually chat with. It's just so important.
Yeah, it's just the most satisfying thing ever just to be like, hey, like, is this like, what do you think of this like particular trend, or like,
Yeah,
like what music has been exciting you lately? And it just, yeah, I love it.
yeah,
I love just getting artist recommendations from doing sessions with people like that. Just because, I mean, I guess normally when I'm out like playing shows and meeting other DJs, we don't exactly like just start talking about like what we're listening to. It's usually
no,
very more like casual kind of banter. But for some
yeah.
reason, like every session, it's just like, all right, I've been like vibing to this artist and blah blah blah, and you just get the best recommendations.
Yeah, I think also when you're touring and kind of in shows and everything like that, is the conversation between artists is like so minimal because generally everyone's flying off to go somewhere else.
Mm.
So it's like in out, on to the next. Hey, how's it? Because I think I met you like around this time last year at Shambhala.
Mm-hmm. It was very brief.
Very brief, like, and you were out and I was out. That festival was a nightmare to get to, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Great festival, but fuck me, that's a hard festival to get in and out of.
yeah. Geez, some of these Bushtor festivals, like it's just the most amazing locations. But for a touring artist, it's like, oh shit! Like if you have 2 or 3 of those in a row, like
Yeah,
it is a nightmare.
brutal.
But
I remember that party, and like the next day getting caught at the, not caught, but like stopped at the border, and you just like spend hours at the border like sweating
oh mate,
pellets that you won't.
caught at the border and you're sweating. What have you been doing, mate?
Well, you don't want to know. No, but it's like you're sweating. Am I gonna make my flight? Am I gonna make my flight? And it's so frustrating.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Oh gosh.
joys of touring, man.
Yeah, that's right.
How long you in Ibiza for?
I just got one more night here. I just booked an extra day because I'm like I'm probably going to be so tired after
Yeah,
the show. Um, so yeah, just hanging out. I'll probably go to the beach and work on some tunes. Maybe
nice.
maybe see if I can hustle my way to a guest list somewhere.
I'm sure you can, mate. I'm sure you can.
I'll just be that guy. I'm getting kind of good at it actually. How's it going, brother? We've not talked in like the last 12 months, but like I'm in the area. Can you get me on the door?
Yeah, definitely. Let's talk about the romantic relationship between you and Omnom.
Okay.
I love that guy. I've known him for a long time. Like, how did this kind of relationship blossom?
So like the first or second time I came to LA, I think it was the second time. Uh, I went on Twitter and I did the whole like, hey, I'm here for a few days. If anybody wants to like work on some music, let me know. And then a fair few people hit me up. But Omnom was literally the only person who actually like followed through with it. So like all these people like, yeah, let's cook, and then you message them and they're like, ah, sorry, like blah blah blah. He was like, first message, he's like, here's my address, I'll be here, like feel free to come through whenever. And I was like, yes, like I really appreciated that, especially
Yeah,
like going to LA and not knowing a single
not
person
knowing
again.
anyone. Yeah,
Um, yeah, so went to his house. I think that's when he was living with Wyatt. Wyatt, is it Wyatt Marshall? I forget what his
yeah,
last name actually is.
yeah. That's why.
Yeah, but they had this like studio in this kind of barn out the back. It's not really a barn, but it felt like a barn. Um, and yeah, we just cooked up a couple tracks, and like we seemed to get along musically. We kind of like really worked well with one another, and kind of more than anything, I just thought he was a really nice, like genuine dude. He
Yeah,
seemed very like he seemed very un LA compared to the other people I'd met. Like he was just very real with everything, like super down to earth. Wasn't really trying to like become my best friend just for the sake of it, kind of thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, and then after that session, we just kept like chatting, sending ideas to one another here and there. And last year, I had a really long like tour, and I was there for about 6 weeks, and we basically just like went to his studio like every day and just made so much music. And then I played a bunch of it at EDC. It seemed to go well, and then we were like, hey, maybe we should like do a project, like just because we have so much, and
Yeah.
maybe it doesn't really fit either of our sounds at the time. And yeah, I think we just have really good synergy with each other in the studio, which yeah, he's just a good bloke. And
Yeah, he's wicked. I
I'm
love him.
honestly though, I am kind of like it's kind of annoying that the duo thing has gotten popular, because it's it's kind of turned what was just like a fun thing with a friend
Yeah.
into something like now we both have our managers like trying to that maybe our managers will have little arguments over something here and there, and it has taken the fun out of it a little bit,
Yeah.
I will say. But
How do you bring that back though? Because I think there's, at the end of the day, like there is a level of like authenticity that is like purely based on a relationship,
mm,
and I think that's what, in my eyes, from an outsider, of like, I don't know you that well personally. I don't know Omno that well personally. I've known him for years, but like I think from an outsider's point of view, it just genuinely feels like it's friendship based, and it's like the business shouldn't get involved in that. It
yeah,
should just purely be fun.
I think for us is right now what we're trying to do is get everyone a little bit less excited, um,
Yeah.
just to like pull the reins a little bit, because it was never really meant to be something that we wanted to like do heaps of shows together or anything like this or that. It was kind of meant to be more like, hey, when we get together and we write some stuff, we'll put like an EP and then maybe we'll play a few shows.
Yeah.
Just like
Do some special
you know,
things.
like how booking agents and managers and stuff can get like they get like a sniff of something, and sometimes it's like blood in the water, right? They're just like,
Yeah.
oh, we should start doing this, like, and it's like, whoa,
Yeah.
like this is very much like not the boys. Like this is just, yeah, this is getting very corporate, real quick.
That's the thing is
Yeah,
they see that it can be very successful, and realistically, like sometimes it doesn't have to make a shit ton of money. Sometimes it doesn't have to be really successful. Sometimes it's literally just you guys having fun.
yeah, exactly.
Where it started, right? And I think that's so important. It's so hard to kind of get through that in the industry, because I think especially nowadays it's so corporate. It's like everything is like business numbers,
Yeah,
etc., etc. How do you get through that? How do you get through the like the business side of things? Because I think as creatives we still get caught up in that quite a lot.
uh, honestly, like I think just trying to be completely honest with my booking agent about how I feel about different things has really helped me a lot. I'm lucky that I have an independent agent in America who really takes on board what I think is right for me.
Yeah.
Um, and just yeah, I think I'm just really lucky that I've got a really down to earth team. Like I've been with my manager for like 10 years.
That's
Um,
important.
he's been with me forever. Like yeah, I don't know. It's really hard to avoid, like you said. Like it's very hard not to get involved with the like the how's this going to perform like on the algorithm? Like how can we do that? Like it's not very fun. So
No.
it's not very for the vibes, you know. It's just
Yeah.
yeah, it's very anti creative.
Yeah, it's
Um,
tough.
yeah, I know we need to make money, but also like yeah, you know, you don't want to sell your soul too much or like just ruin something for the sake of making a bit of extra money. Um,
Or an extra few likes or an extra few comments or something like that, right?
yeah, exactly. Like I think if you have the wrong people telling you what to do, and I've seen this like with some people that I know, and sometimes people just get the wrong advice, like with how they should approach things, and it just like just maybe their career starts making them a bit more money, but they just become so much more miserable than they were before. And like you meet them, it's like, man, I'm not really not liking this, but I'm kind of trapped in this thing that I've created now. Like
Yeah.
I'm a part of this like corporate machine that spits out money, but like I'm stuck in the middle of it. And because yeah, once you're there, like you have all these people who are relying on you to like it's almost like running a huge business really. Like all these people are relying on you for to make the money. And
Yeah.
yeah, anyway.
It's tough. It's tough. Have you ever got there? Have you ever felt like you've had a part in your career where it's like that, or where it's going like that, where you kind of have to pull the reins in and go like, hang on a minute, this isn't where we're at?
Yeah, I mean definitely with the hyperbeam stuff I've had some
Yeah.
proper like had to have some pretty like serious conversations with people about how I'm feeling about everything because as you know like sometimes things move really fast and
Yeah.
if you don't like kind of catch things before they get out of control like yeah you can end up having some regrets with letting things spiral in the wrong direction. So yeah, definitely with Hyperbeam, like Cody and I had to really talk about like, hey, is this really where we want to go with this? Because like
Yeah.
it also touring as a duo is super complicated. Like with me being in Australia, Cody also has a different booking agent now. It was like a lot more simple when we were both with the same guy. So just very complicated, very much like not about the vibe. So that's why we kind
Yeah.
of had to be like, all right, this is actually what we want to do. Sorry to like all of you hungry agents. Like this is what we want to do, and you have to suck it up. You have to just
No, I think it's
yeah
really important to be able to do that and kind of have the kahunas to kind of just say like, fuck it, guys. Like, I think there's also a brand association that like you also have to stand alone as your own individual artist. I think like
Yeah.
it's like it's you don't necessarily want to be like I had it with Dirty Bird at the beginning, like where you kind of you're so in a brand that you kind of can't get out, and it takes years to get out, and it takes years to kind of take that association. And I think it's like although you and Cody are like your own artist, but I think sometimes when people only ever see you as together, you're then not your own artist.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, us having such similar names also a terrible combo because
Yeah.
some people have been like messaging me. They're like, "Wow, I can't wait to see you there, like in this place, you know, in a few days." I'm like,
Yeah.
"I'm on the other side of the world, mate. Like, that's not me." So, you know, it's
hard that.
it's definitely not ideal. That's so.
Well, I think especially when it's people's first introduction to who you are is that project, and I think it's tough because at the end of the day, it's still not a bad situation to be in when there's success involved. But I think it's realistically, we all have our goals and what we want in for our own careers.
Yeah.
I had a similar situation. I had a collab with Sian, who owns Octopus Recordings, and we had a project called Amok and wrote a full on album. Like the music was insane. It's like not been released. We've only had 2 releases, but it was like we both kind of sat down and were like, yeah, both of our careers are doing its own thing. If we throw something else in there, like, does it messy the waters? Does it kind of change how everyone views us? And does it make it a bit of a harder situation to kind of talk about our individual careers on top of that?
Yeah, sorry, I just had to plug my computer in. I didn't realize it wasn't charging this whole time. God, hopefully it's not going to ruin my webcam.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, it does
you look
like
beautiful.
Do I? Okay, good. Look at that.
Yeah,
That's so professional of me. I'm running at like 2 frames per second now.
It's all good.
Yeah, it does muddy the waters, hey, and like people aren't always going to be that switched on, so you kind of like you really have to like bite the bullet sometimes and like you know, be careful with playing like doing too much stuff together because it's very easy for people to like just get you confused and and you can't really blame people. Like not everyone's a Giga fan who knows absolutely everything about everyone. So
yeah, I think that's the thing is like expectations of fans is right. Is like I can't expect every fan to know exactly everything that I do and kind of every conversation that we have to fans. I think that's just very arrogant to think that. So I think you kind of have to treat, this sounds really awful and I don't mean this in a horrible way, but it's like you have to treat everyone like they don't know who you are and they're just rocking up to the show for the first time. And it's like, what is that perception you give to fans, and kind of how do you talk about that story? It's so important.
Yeah, exactly right. So yeah, that's one of the reasons that Cody and I like can't do too much stuff together as well, because otherwise we'll never escape one another. We'll just be two people as one for the rest of our musical careers.
I get it, man. I get it. It's important to kind of have a level of separation for sure.
Yeah.
Dude, we've nearly done an hour. I feel like we could keep talking, but I think people just want to not hear us blabber on for fucking hours.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
Let's do this again sometime next year or kind of whenever you want to talk about something. But dude, like it's been great to talk to you for the last hour. Thank you so much for coming on. I think a lot of people will get a lot from this conversation.
Hey,
so yeah,
thanks for having me on.
Keep doing your thing.
Hey, respect. Thank you, man. I'm sorry about my webcam. I think my computer hit a low battery point, and now I'm like, it looks like whoever's listening right now and doesn't have a video of this, it looks like I've been sucked into a Nokia phone. Like I'm just.
You're like 2000 webcam vibe when you were like on like Omegle or something like that.
Yeah, it looks like I'm just texting him one photo at a time.
Yeah, I love
There's a slideshow going on.
Right, dude, keep safe, and I'm sure I'll see you very soon at a show. So
yeah,
keep it up, man.
Hopefully we cross paths soon.
Definitely, man. Also, congrats on everything, man. It's really nice to see the success that you're having. So please keep it up, dude. Like, just keep working hard.
Thank you, man.
It's worth it.
I'll do my best. I'll do my best.
Legend, man. Big love.
Hey, see you, man.
And that's a wrap. Big love to everybody for listening. Keep safe. Enjoy it. Share it with your friends. Subscribe. Just give us some reviews. I love you forever. Big love.